Let me now bring in Mr. Zafar Masud Saab as Chief Executive Officer, the Bank of Punjab, and really known for his innovative thoughts on particularly financing. Bank of Punjab is really one of the leading bank on this one. So he will be speaking on innovating financing models that Pakistan can institutionalize to finance social investments. Over to you, Zafar Saab.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sajid. This is at the outset, let me just warn you that, I've been allocated 10 minutes, but, I'm so passionate about this whole subject that I might push my luck and stretch a little more, Dr. Saab, with your permission. Also, I'll be very keen if, I don't know, I don't want to spoil your format, but if it's possible, I'll be happy to take 2-3 questions, as you know that I have to leave early, because this is such a noble idea and an evolving thought that if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to respond. If it's not possible right away, it's okay. You can send me the questions later on, Dr. Saab, and I will make sure that I'll respond to them, because I don't think we'll be able to do justice with what kind of options are available out there in the non-conventional space to finance social sector investments.
We will continue following you.
To begin with, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. To begin with, social sector funding is getting tighter globally. The conventional fiscal resources are squeezing, and the reliance on debt is increasing as we've witnessed in the last few decades. The first victim generally in this kind of situation and environment is obviously the social sector investment. And exactly the same situation we are witnessing in Pakistan too. But more pronounced, this is a more pronounced problem while this is happening across the globe, but it is a more pronounced problem in Pakistan. So what is happening is that, the current financing frameworks are surely insufficient. What needs to be changed? Frankly speaking, let me say this at the outset. The change is necessary in the mindset, in the way we think about the social sector spending. This is not an expense. This is an investment, and I'm glad that you've used the words investment in your introduction. And how can we change it? What are the tools available? I will cover my presentation today primarily on those tools. And then obviously, the lessons that we could learn from how this has been done globally. Interestingly enough, globally, this whole concept is also evolving. This is a pretty recent concept and idea, and not much has been done about this. So in this evolving situation, you always have an opportunity to make it more tailor-made towards your own requirement. And that's what we will talk about in the at the end. The social sector situation, Dr. Faisal has already covered it well. The speakers before me have covered it adequately. And now I will not talk about anything in detail here. All I would like to say is that, all the indicators, unfortunately, Pakistan is struggling. And the problem is not merely the funding per se. It is beyond funding. It is actually addressing the effectiveness of whatever funding that has been put in as well. So we are facing a double sort of jeopardy. The structural financing gap in Pakistan typically, are confronted with serious social financing, confronted with when it comes to social financing. The commercial, the government budget is low and is inconsistent, as Dr. Faisal earlier talked about. And the funding requirement is so enormous on the other hand that whatever funding you could channelize and invest, you will always be lagging behind in terms of meeting our social sector investment requirements. The social sector investment requirement I call them suppressed demand requirements, where whatever you can put in case of Pakistan, it will never be adequate. So we keep on need to thinking on how we can actually go for a larger pool by engaging various stakeholders locally and internationally. Uh, the social sector capacity, what has happened is that after 18th Amendment, the social sector per se is become the domain of the provinces, and perhaps rightly so. And I'll talk about it a little later when I talk about China. That the provinces have been given the responsibility to run with the ball on social investments, but unfortunately they seriously lack the capacity, and hence the problem of capacity also being faced at the provincial level. On the private sector side, the conventional CSR front, I think Pakistan has learned the mastery of it, but it need to be more structured. It need to be more channelized towards. The idea is how we can leverage that CSR funding. But frankly, Dr. Saab, to my mind, CSR funding cannot be the solution to the problem at all of our social sector investment requirements. The way to go is merely, a public-private partnership. The traditional financing model have failed, in my very humble opinion, because they were not outcome oriented and based. So it was not outcome based, and they were not channelized adequately towards the areas where they were supposed to be channelized. So we need to really reimagine the fiscal space that we are operating in. As I said, the world is actually now moving away from, well, not moving away, but constrained to having a dried up their conventional fiscal resources, funding sources, to now debt driven, as we've seen the debt growing many folds in the last 3 decades, particularly. We need to figure out how we can also leverage debt in the overall scheme of things to support the social sector investments. And in this context, in the traditional infrastructure framework, they do exist, but the social sector frameworks are still lacking. Now, what are the typical alternate sources which are available globally and is being used extensively? Is being used. For example, there are 4 or 5 that I've listed here, but frankly speaking, these are very fluid structures, and they vary from country to country, offering to offering, social sector requirement to social sector requirement. It is not something which is carved in stone that this is the structure that one needs to follow. These are principally the ideas which then can be tweaked based on the requirement of the social sector investment of that particular country or the project that we are talking about. The most popular one is obviously the blended financing. Blended financing is an overarching term. So the other 4 that are 3 at least are listed, 2, 3, and 4 that are listed are actually a subset of the blended financing. And the blended financing is essentially means that either in the form of the guarantee or as such taking the funding risk, the philanthropic or the multilateral or the DFI come through and work with the commercial organizations to tap into something which is unconventional nature. In the infrastructure space, blended finance has been used extensively. Social sector is still at the peripheries. On the social impact bond, it is something which is squarely towards the social impact financing and not infrastructure as such. जो मैं पहले blended finance की बात कर रहा था, that is infrastructure but social impact focused. The second one is squarely on the social sector investment standpoint. And it is actually the idea here is to involve primarily the commercial organizations to come and participate, and also make the interest of all the stakeholders who are involved in the equation, starting from the delivery partners to the investor and to the outcome funder. Everybody has to have some kind of stake and skin in the game to make sure that the outcome is more concrete and ensured. I will talk about it a little later, detail later. In Pakistan, the first social impact bond has already been commissioned, and we are expecting the funding to be channelized in the next 2 to 3 months. This third one is the social success notes, which are pretty similar to the social impact bonds, but typically the investor type is very different. In the social impact bond, we try and encourage the commercial investors to come through. In the social success notes, we essentially have the concessional financing agencies to come through and support the funding. Social impact guarantees, as I said, in the blended financing, we have a classic example of Infrazam in Pakistan. We have the classic example of recently set up an entity called NCGCL, which is National Credit Guarantee Company Limited. And Grandco has been active in Pakistan for the last 10 years. In fact, more than 10 years. I brought them into Pakistan in 2023. It's an FCDO company whereby they provide the guarantees for infrastructure financing with the social development focus. Last but not the least are the typical, philanthropic initiatives. Pakistan has a official funding pool of around 25 billion rupees, but the unofficial, funding pool are enormous in nature. All new concepts and ideas are still being explored and being worked on. Now, on the blended financing side, I've already talked about a bit on this one. The thing has been lacking in the past
Zafar
is
sir,
related to the.
may I request if you can in 3 to 4 minutes? Please.
Yes, sure. So one piece is the de-risking piece is taken care of, but the outcome assessment is still lacking in this space. And therefore, this has to be thought in a different manner. This is, and typically in this blended finance, जो मेरे सामने example में नजर आती is the government की guarantee coming through in various projects, government of Punjab, government of Pakistan, all those guarantees coming through in this space to act as the blended finance. As you can see, when we get the blended finance, the guarantee from the government of Punjab, we have a substantial impact on the social financing. I leave that presentation with you, Dr. Saab. People can see the figures. I will not dwell into details. It's an enormous impact. All I want to tell you is that we are going for an impact assessment of this with lumps in the next 2-3 months. Next is the social impact bond. Social impact bond, I've already talked about this in detail earlier. All I can tell you is, as I said, typically it's needed to attract the local the foreign investors, to attract the commercial lenders. And in Pakistan, I'm very pleased to share with all of you that we are in the process of going for the first social impact bond, first ever social impact bond with NAFTAC, where the BAT and government of and Bank of Punjab are the advisors. This is the first social impact bond which is being contemplated in Pakistan. Bank of Punjab is the advisor with the British Asian Trust. In this, the education outcome would be the employment, not the skill development outcome will be the employment and not the conventional way of financing. I will now jump to social success net notes. मैंने आपसे already discuss कर लिया हुआ है. Guarantees I've already talked about. Philanthropic CSR funding we've already talked about. I will now jump to the slide 18, where I'm talked about the China model. The China is the real role model in this whole space, and the message I want to leave behind is the change of the culture and the social mindset which has resulted in China's success, where 800 people have been brought out of poverty, and the substantial improvement has been seen in the HDI. The primary two things in this slide, one, Dr. Saab, is the cultural and the social mindset change, and the other one is the devolution of power. The accountability at the lower level is actually something which makes sure that the outcome all throughout. It's not just the financial outcome; it is the outcome of the performance as well. Last slide, Dr. Saab, I'm glad to share with you that, and I must thank you for organizing this event, for organizing this webinar. I wish we had more time because, for social sector, I don't think we dedicate and invest enough time that it deserves. I'm extremely thankful to you. At least we are thinking on those directions. And once we start thinking on those lines, I'm pretty sure that we will get to that point very, very soon. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab.
Zafar Saab, thank you. And really well noted that we really need more time, and I'm sure my team will be engaging with you for some more dedicated discussions with Bank of Punjab on the excellent work that you are doing, and also sharing. Thank you for sharing some experiences, particularly from China. Well, we have some questions. We will be putting it to you on email and connecting to the questions. Thank you so much.